Now in its 9th season, it's Prodigy Bowlers Tour, celebrating junior bowling and elevating junior bowlers. Today, episode 188, the 2025 Kansas City Open April Point Tournament. 5 players have qualified for the TV finals, but only one of them can leave as the Division IV champion today. Let's meet the 5 finalists. Qualifying in the 5th position is Emma Widerski of Topeka, Kansas. She'll face the number 4 qualifier, Johnny Warnke Jr. of Columbia, Missouri. The winner of that match will challenge the 3 seed, Jonathan Cooper of St. George, Kansas. That winner will bowl the 2 seed, Kelly Petrick of Fontana, Kansas. And the winner of that match will bowl for the championship against Aiden York of Grain Valley, Missouri. He's our tournament leader. One of these 5 young competitors will emerge as the Kansas City Open champion in Division IV today and will sign the coveted trophy pin here on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. You know, if you live outside the greater Kansas City area, when you hear the name Leavenworth, it probably conjures up images of the federal prison here. But whenever we come to Leavenworth, we think of Rex the dinosaur, who greets bowlers as they arrive at Crown Lanes. And we're back again at this busy bowling center for the KCO April Point Tournament. As always, the KCO holds competitions in 5 divisions, and each month we bring you the stepladder finals in 2 of those divisions. Division 1, which you'll see on our next episode of Prodigy, and one of the handicap divisions. And today, it's Division 4's turn to show us what they got. And following the customary 6 games of qualifying, 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, these 5 players rose to the top. The stepladder finals works like this. The 5th qualifier bowls the 4th qualifier, and the winner advances to bowl the 3rd qualifier. The winner of each match keeps advancing as long as they keep winning. And the winner of our final match today will be crowned champion in Division 4. So let's get you down to the lanes to see our first 2 young competitors. The 5 seed, Emma Widerski, who's making her 2nd appearance on Prodigy. And the 4 seed, Johnny Warnke Jr., who's making his 1st appearance on Prodigy. In fact, 2 weeks ago at the March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament in Belton, Missouri, Johnny and his younger brother Tristan bowled in their very first KCO. And Tristan and their dad made the stepladder finals, while Johnny, who was in Division III at the time, didn't fare quite so well and got re-rated down to Division IV. But here he is, in position to make a run for the title. Meanwhile, Johnny's opponent, Emma Widerski, is returning to Prodigy after making the show in September on our season premiere, when she qualified as the 2 seed and finished 3rd. So let's get the engines firing and get this rocket off the ground, as it's the 5 seed Emma Widerski taking on the 4 seed Johnny Warnke Jr. And Johnny, being the higher qualifier, had the choice, and he's elected to let Emma lead off. Emma crosses over with her opening toss, leaves a simple spare, the 5 pin. We're bowling on 21 and 22 here at Crown Lanes today. And you see over on our left, that is Division 3. To our right, there's little Kane and Duncan. That's the Division 5 group over there. Oh! And Emma just hooks past the 5 pin. So that's an open to begin. You see, with 9 in the first frame, we've added her 17 pins a handicap. So that's all factored in. Now Johnny up on the right. Comes in thin, and he leaves the 5 pin. A little different way of leaving it, but the resulting spare is the same. Johnny on his high school bowling team, where his dad is the coach. in Columbia, Missouri. And he covers the spare easily. Now, I mentioned those kids bowling in the periphery to our left and right. Division III on our left, Division V on our right. What I didn't tell you is we will recap how their step ladders played out when we get to the end of the show after we interview our winner here. Johnny hits the blower zone, and the 5 heads over to the 10, but just can't seem to find it, so he'll have another single pin spare to shoot. Johnny's style, a little unusual. You may notice his swing doesn't seem to be quite in sync with his footwork. That's because he has very early timing. I'll explain a little more about what that means as we go along. He whiffs the 10 pin, and that's one of the things you'll find when your timing is off, is you lose accuracy. Maybe we'll be able to see it a little better when he's up later on in this match. Now Emma. Well, Emma pulls that one completely across her body, and you will notice that she is playing on the far outside of the lane. And I will tell you that on these lanes here at Crown Lanes, this is how you make the 1, 3, 6, 9. You got to favor the 3 pin a little bit. If you put it right in the 1, 3 pocket, you're liable to leave the 9. Yep, that was a little left of where she wanted it, but Emma is playing out near the first arrow. And we're bowling on the house shot, so you've got a buildup of oil in the center of the lane that goes roughly from the second arrow on the left to the second arrow on the right. About 10 to 10, pretty standard for a house shot. But on the right side, there's been so much traffic, the track area is worn down, and you see what happens is you lay it down out there where there's less friction, and the ball just starts to hook right away. If she would move, and I mean move about 5, 6, 7 boards left with her feet, and move her eyes into, second arrow, or maybe even a little left of that, she would find better success. Well, now, she laid that one down outside, and it didn't hook because it looked like she didn't quite catch it at the bottom. Anyway, it's an open frame, 3 of them to start, and that's no good. So Johnny Warnke with a 12-pin lead heading into the 3rd frame. Gives it the big loft, which delays the hook a bit. And he finds the pocket. That's a big strike. Take another look at his game here. Over the second arrow, swings it out to about 5. And down they go. Oh man, that was crowding the head pin a little bit. He almost had the 6-8. The 8 was last to go, but it went. And now that's a double. Watch it again. Again over the second arrow, maybe let up on the speed a little bit, or could be the left lane's just hooking a little more. But a strike is a strike is a strike, and you take them however you can get them. All right, Emma. You see how that ball hooks through the nose. And I really believe that's probably because she's just playing a little too far right on the lane. The more play there is on bowling lanes, more traffic to pick up the oil, and you got to move left. You got to stay ahead of the transition. She lets that one slip off into the channel, so that's another open frame, and that's 4 opens in a row out of the gate. And I guarantee you that's not what she had in mind. Emma's favorite pro bowlers, E.J. Tackett and Crystal Elliott. Says she wants to be a pro bowler someday, or maybe a broadcaster. Well, doggone it, she's just out there in no man's land, playing up the edge of the lane. There's just not a lot of oil out there. So when you lay it down in a high friction area, you have to expect the ball will hook almost immediately. You got to get left so that when you lay the ball down on the lane, you're laying it down in the oil. Oh no! Wow! That was unlucky. She nearly had the 6-7. That would have made the 4-6. Maybe made the 4-6-7, but in any case, it's another open frame. Meanwhile, Johnny just keeps trucking along. That's a turkey for him, and now the lead is 55 pins. Let's take a look at Johnny's timing. Here's how we measure it. When the slide foot gets flat on the floor, which it's just done, the bowling arm should be parallel to the floor. But his bowling arm has already reached a vertical position. He's way early with his timing. The correction would be to hold the ball about a half step, maybe even a full step longer before he pushes it away, to delay when it gets to the bottom of the swing at release. That one goes through the nose. Looked like he let up on the speed a little bit that time. And he leaves the 4-pin. In the modern game today, the general consensus is if you're going to have timing that airs early or late, it's better to have late timing, or what we call leverage timing. When the ball arrives at the foul line before your feet do, it's hard to get as much on the ball as you might otherwise. You just leave a lot of power on the table. All right, Emma. Well, once again, laying the ball down way outside. But this time, rather than trusting it to the right, where we know it's going to hook off the dry boards, she pulled it to avoid throwing it in the gutter. That's one of the risks you run when you play that outside line. I used to love playing what we call the gutter shot, right out by the edge. You had to be fearless to play out there. And I think she just flinched a bit, pulled it left. Oh, she just barely gets the 1-3-6. But you know what? I love her attitude. She's just undaunted and will just keep coming back for more. But she stops the bleeding at least, gets her first mark. She's got a 54-pin mountain to climb, chasing down the leader. Now she moved in and gets a strike, albeit a Brooklyn, but you notice that ball did not hook early. Didn't really hook much at all. She laid it down where there's some oil on the lane. That's the difference. Now, if she'd have just pointed that ball a little farther to the right, she might have got it to hook right into the pocket. And Johnny, once again, crowding the head pin just a little bit, but stuffs him straight back. That's 4 strikes in 5 frames, and he's making himself very difficult to beat. Look at that big loft. He almost lofts it almost 2/3 of the way to the arrows. The arrows are 15 feet down the lane, so a 10-foot loft, if in fact that's what it is, that's a lot. Comes in thin, trying to get the wall shot, but the 10 somehow doesn't get caught up in the wash. And he'll have a single pin spare to shoot. He missed this earlier. But he makes sure that this time and will sit down with a 54-pin lead. And Emma's going to have to go to the whip now. She's 15 years old. Actually, will have turned 16 by the time you see this show. There you go. There's the pocket. We knew she'd find it eventually. Emma says she got started bowling because her grandma was a competitive bowler and is her influence in bowling. So there you go. She's a big fan of K-State sports and sports in general. Well, once again, she's not getting the ball to overhook. She's not really getting it to hook at all. She's laying it down more in the oil now that she's moved a little farther left. That's a good move. But she needs to trust it to the right just a little bit so that it can find the dry part of the lane and hook off of that. She'll go cross lane at the 4-7. Well, as I've always said, one of the keys to being a good spare shooter is leaving easier spares. And she's done that now in the 9th. Cut into the lead a little bit. But now Johnny with a chance to close out the match. Comes in thin, had the 3-9 looking at him for a moment, but the 3 went out. And that 9 count is enough to put it away. So Johnny Warnke is going to move on to match 2 and meet our 3 seed, Jonathan Cooper. Covers the spare. Johnny's younger brother, Tristan, bowled in the periphery on one of our shows in March at the Adult Youth Doubles Tournament. He was bowling with their dad at the Adult Youth Doubles event in Belton. Boy, he got that one out wide. Talk about trusting it. A little more trust there than you need. When asked what he wants to be when he grows up, Johnny Warnke says, a business owner. I like the sound of that. Johnny, I think you're not quite done yet, buddy. One more shot here. A strike for 2-11. Crosses over, gets 7, so that's going to be a 208 finish. Remember, he's only getting 3 pins in handicap, so that's a 205 scratch for Johnny, and a Division IV player has an average somewhere between 140 and 159, so he bowled way over his average. Good for him. Now Emma to finish out. See, now she's moved in where there's some oil, and that ball is much more controllable. Watch this. She was laying it down on about 5 or 6 earlier, but she's going to lay it down here at about 9 or 10. Sends it out to about 9. That's how you strike on these lanes. Oh. I think when she watches this video back, she'll find that she might want to work on walking a little straighter. Looks like she steps off to the left a little bit with her first step. That's normal. But then she kind of walks back to the right. And when you're a right-hander and you walk right, drift right, you tend to walk into your swing plane, and that causes problems. So she'll have a couple of things to work on, but this is a good experience for her. It's Johnny Warnke Jr. who takes match 1. Emma will think about it until the next time she makes the show. But now Johnny Warnke has Jonathan Cooper in his sights. Emma came to life in the second half of that opening match, marking in every frame starting in the 6th. But 5 opens in the first 5 frames put her behind the 8 ball, and she was just never quite able to recover. Could it have been nerves? Maybe. And if it was, then she should come away from the experience encouraged that she finally settled in and started bowling up to her potential in the back half of the match. But it was Johnny Warnke Jr. who bowled a nearly clean game with just one open, and he cruised to an easy 208 to 168 win, sending him into match 2 of the stepladder finals, where he'll now face our number 3 qualifier, Jonathan Cooper. Jonathan has only been bowling about a year, but practically grew up in bowling centers watching his older brother bowl. His brother has 17 300 games to his credit, so if even a fraction of that has rubbed off on Jonathan, he could be a force to be reckoned with. But remember, Johnny Warnke Jr. comes from a bowling family too, and his dad is his high school bowling coach. It's a Johnny versus Jonathan clash, featuring both a righty and a lefty. And the righty is going to lead off here. Jonathan Cooper has decided he wants to start the match. Now you talk about a difference in styles from what we saw with Emma Wadersky. She was playing out by the edge when she first started. Jonathan is way inside. Little higher rev player. He'll play more in the oil and try to give the ball room. Goes with a spare ball at the 6-9 and still hooks it past the spare. Goodness gracious. You know, you see the two bowlers pretty evenly matched, just 1 pin difference in handicap. Jonathan with 8 out in the first. We've added his 4 pins in, so his handicap is accounted for. And there is a solid strike in the first for Johnny Warnke Jr., or JJ, as he is sometimes called. He's 17 years old, been bowling since he was about 12 or 13. There's definitely some things to like about his game. I just get a little nervous whenever I see that ball get to the foul line before his feet do. That's kind of weird, but I think when he watches this video, he might see that and go, oh, okay, got it. Just hold the ball about a step before you push it into the push away, and that should put your timing right back in sync. Wow. Jonathan sending it out wide, and you send it out that far to the right, and most of the time it's going to come roaring back, as it does this time, and he leaves the 3-9, a fairly difficult spare if you're throwing the big hook and having a hard time keeping the ball on the right side of the lane. And once again, he misses the spare on the left, whiffs both pins. So a rather inauspicious start for Jonathan Cooper, who finds himself trailing by 33 pins after just 2 frames, as his opponent starts with a double. Well, that was a better shot. He just needs to move a little farther left. They only oil the lanes once in the morning at the KCO before the morning squad goes off for qualifying, and then you have the whole field bowl 6 games on the lanes, and then they still don't run them again for the step ladder, so you got to adjust. There's a spare. So that'll make him feel a little better. Johnny Warnke, who has a high game of 238. Whoa! Where are you throwing it? Way out to the edge. I thought that was heading for the moat. But he manages to get 5 pins out of it somehow, but leaves a rather peculiar version of the washout. The 1, 3, 7, 9, 10. Here's how to make it. Send that head pin over into the 7 and hope for the best with the 3, 9, 10. This can be done. Well, he hits the left side of the head pin, so it's 9 out. That'll tighten the match a little bit. Jonathan Cooper, sitting on the bench, manages to get back in the match without throwing a shot. But now JJ looking to bounce back. Oh, look out! Oh, my goodness. Well, I think sometimes what we see with some of these kids, and I haven't talked to them, so I don't know exactly what they're thinking. I can't be in their brains. That probably wouldn't be a great place for me to be hanging out anyway, but sometimes I think these kids try to compensate for the lane's hooking by throwing the ball farther to the outside when the proper move is to move their feet to the inside. There's a good shot, but it doesn't quite get up. So he's got another open frame. That's back-to-back opens. But let's take Jonathan Cooper, for example. He's left some spares here where he hit high or even on the Brooklyn side. Rather than trying to throw the ball farther to the right, he needs to move his feet left and play more toward the center of the lane. Well, you see how that happened? He sent it way out to the right, and that ball was outside of 10 before it even got to the tracers. It's dry out there. The ball's going to hook back really hard. You just don't even want to get the ball that wide anywhere on the lane. Just move your feet about 5, 6, 7 boards left, and instead of playing out by between the second and third arrows, that's a great spare there. Just play around the 4th arrow. Boy, that really was a great spare. I would not have guessed with the hook ball he was throwing that he'd be able to make the 3-9, but not only did he make it, but he made it look easy. Oh, look at this. So his compensation move seems to be throw it harder, loft it further down the lane, and don't turn it as much. Now, the not turning it as much is probably going to make the ball a little more controllable, but the problem is when it gets out to that dry part of the lane earlier, it's just going to roll out and it's not going to finish. And that's what happened there. Again, the solution is to move left with your feet and to move left with your eyes. That barely got up to make the 2-pin, but it's a spare. Oh, what I would give for about 20 minutes on the lanes with these guys. Hopefully they'll pick up a little something by watching this. That's a better shot there. Boy, he just stung the pocket, but the 10-pin had other ideas. You just stay right there, Johnny, and I believe you're going to find some success in that zone. Easy spare. We don't hurt him now. It's okay, it's a spare. And after 2 opens, you'll take even a spare that came by grazing the pin. Whatever it takes. You know, I haven't thrown a shot on this lane, but I would tell you it looks to me like it's just hooking a little bit more than the right lane. So, again, the solution is to move right with your feet, move right with your eyes at the arrows. Here's how you make the 2, 4, 7, 10. He threw a spare ball at it and still gave it too much room. Those spare balls are not going to hook. So this is a rather untidy game, I would have to say. But there's still plenty of time and only 10 pins separating these two, so it's anybody's match. There you go. That's the line you're looking for. Jonathan gave it the big loft and the big turn, but he moved inside. He's farther left with his feet. See if we can pick up where it hits at the arrows. It looks like it goes over about the 4th arrow. Only gets out to about 9 or 10 at its widest point. And there's still some oil there. You can play in that zone. Might need to move a little farther still on the left. Well, he just kind of fell off balance that time. I'm not sure exactly if that was a result of the line he played or if he just pulled it as a result of being out of balance when he let it go. A lot of times with these two-handers, they get their shoulders so far forward, their spine angle tipped forward. See how far forward he's tipped? And I always tell two-handers, shoulders back, butt down. Keep your bottom down and your shoulders back so that you keep your base under you and your center of gravity a little lower. When you tip forward, you get your center of gravity out in front of you. There's a good shot. Johnny blasts one right through the pocket. Never a doubt. And once again, we've got a tight match. Just 4 pins separating them. Big loft hits about 11 at the arrows. That only got out to about 8. I'm liking it. But that left lane, once again, hooking a little more, and I think he got it a little wider. And when you get it a little wider, it gets out into the dry part of the lane a little sooner, so it starts to hook back sooner, giving the ball more time on the back end, more room on the back end to hook and find the nose, and now he's got an impossible split. And he takes the count. That's the smart play. Not much you can do about it, but the lead changes hands. And now Jonathan Cooper has the advantage. The last time he was up on this lane, he threw a beautiful strike, made the right adjustment. And that didn't look so different off his hand. But I think if we look at this shot and the last one he threw on the right lane, we'll see what the difference was. The one on the left is his previous shot on this lane. Pay attention to where the ball is as it crosses the tracer. See how much farther to the right it is on the shot on the right side of your screen? That's the one that hooks back and goes through the nose. There's oil more toward the middle of the lane, and if you can keep the ball more toward the center of the lane, it'll scoot down lane farther before it starts to hook. You get it out to the right, and it's going to come screaming back to the nose. And that's what got him there. But he makes the spare, maintains his 8-pin lead, and we're down to the final 2 frames, and somebody has to win this match. Jonathan Cooper, 15 years old. Johnny Warnke, 17. He moved further left that time, but that left lane is just hooking that much more. He's got to move even farther to the left. And just try to make these spares. Man, if you can just make your spares, you're going to be a hard out. Uh-oh. Well, I can see what he was trying to do. He was trying to go with the straight up the back of the ball release to take all the hook out of it. But he was throwing a spare ball, which shouldn't hook much anyway, although we did see him hook past the spare with his spare ball earlier in the match. But, well, an open frame. Now Johnny, who had the advantage, may have just surrendered it, leaving the washout, the 1-3-7. Goodness. Here's how you make it. This is doable. Just move a little bit left with your feet, throw it over your strike target. And he's not going to get up. And another open frame. And we have 3 pins separating these two, heading into the 10th frame. And out of the last 4 frames bowled, 3 of them were opens. I don't want it, you take it. No, I don't want it, you can have it. Come on, somebody's got to step up here. Oh, man, that was a good shot. Johnny not rewarded. That was a great shot. Sent the 5 over into the 10. The swishing 10 gets him. But now, here's the deal. The way things are going, a mark could win this. Bear down, make this spare. No! Can't be missing those, especially not in crunch time. So it comes down to this. Jonathan Cooper needs 7 pins in the 10th frame, and he will be advancing to match 3. Crosses over. Not exactly a thing of beauty, but 9 gets the job done. And Jonathan takes the match. Well, I tell you, both players had plenty of opportunities to run away and hide with this one, but these lanes pretty pesky. As all the hands in the gallery go up, let's see what he can do with the 5-pin. He makes it. So he will end up in the 140s, it looks like. This will be something he can brag to his older brother about. His brother is the bowler in the family who has 17 300 games. Good heavens. Well, that's one way of overcoming the dry lanes. He just throws it straight. He's not even trying to turn the ball now. It's Jonathan Cooper who takes our second match, and now he'll face Kelly Petrick when we return. In a low-scoring match that came down to the final frames, one player finished with 3 opens, while the other managed 2 marks, and that was that. There's not a bowling coach in the world who doesn't stress the importance of spares, And this last match serves as Exhibit A for why they're so important, especially at this level where strikes tend to be scarce. Become a great spare shooter and you'll be hard to beat. And on this occasion, Jonathan Cooper made the shots he needed to turn the tide and get to match 3, where now he'll face our number 2 qualifier, Kelly Petrick. Kelly bowls league with us at Olathe Lanes East, where I coach, so I'm familiar with her game. And I know the biggest challenge she'll have this game is believing she can win. She's never been in this position before, but let me tell you, she has a very simple, repeatable swing that should hold up under pressure, and I expect her to be there at the end. Jonathan Cooper, on the other hand, has won a couple of tournaments before, and coming off that win against Johnny Warnke, I would expect Jonathan to be brimming with confidence. This ought to be interesting. 2 months ago, Kelly qualified 3rd for the stepladder, finished 4th. Makes a pretty commercial shot for her opener. Finds the pocket, leaves the 10. You see these two pretty evenly matched, just 1 pin difference in handicap. Kelly moving to the left, goes cross lane at the 10 pin. Oh, it slipped off her hand. Oh, and she got away with it. Wow. Somewhat of a good break there, but that straight arm swing saved her. All right, now Jonathan Cooper up on the right. Sends that thing way out to the right, but gave it enough turn that it made it all the way back and then some. That thing actually went through the nose and could have been a split. Honestly, I'm not sure how he avoided leaving a split, but watch this. That ball gets out to about 3, has the 4-7-10 looking at him, and they all go out. Well, I don't know if you could pick that up, but it looked like he almost was trying to throw a backup ball. He did not turn that thing. He was trying to go more up the back of it to limit the hook. That is definitely one way of controlling your hook. I don't know if it's the way I would recommend. That is hard to do consistently, shot after shot. But he leaves just the 7. And then hooks past it, goes in the gutter. That ball bounced out of the gutter and knocked over the 7 pin, but once that ball is in the gutter, it's dead. And if it bounces out and knocks anything down, whatever it knocks down, you do not get credit for. So that's an open frame. So a strike and then 9 out in the second would give him 19 in the first. We add his 4 pins of handicap to that. That's how we arrive at 23 in the first, and then 9 more in the second, and he's sitting at 32 in the second as Kelly Petrick gets up on the right lane for the first time in this match. And that ball hooks high. We've seen a lot of that today. She leaves the 6-9-10. Another right side spare. She just made one in the first when the ball slipped off her hand, and she still managed to convert the 10 pin. But she hooks by the 6-9-10. Only gets 2 of them. One thing I want you to notice about Kelly's game, one thing I want Kelly to notice about Kelly's game, is in her swing, Her bowling hand is always on the outside of the ball, to the right of the ball, rather than right behind it. Watch this. See how she's on the side of the ball all the way? That puts her in a position where she's almost destined to pull the shot every time. Where I'd love to get her is where her hand is behind the ball, and then she just gives it a slight turn at the end. But when your hand is on the side of the ball like hers is, if you turn it at all, suddenly you're on top of the ball. And that's no good, and that's what's happened here. Look at this. Oh, she gets away with it. Well, that's twice on the left lane that she got away with a shot that came off her hand funny and looked like it was going to miss the spare to the left, but hey, she must be living right. She says she's a kind person, so maybe that's karma coming back on her. A crossover strike for Jonathan Cooper in the third. Not exactly the kind of strike he was playing for, but hey, counts the same as a solid one in the pocket. He's just sending it too far to the right. Getting it out there into the dry part of the lane, and it's starting to hook early. I know I must sound like a broken record to some of you. I keep mentioning this again and again, but it keeps happening. There are different ways to compensate for that. One is to not send it as wide. Now, he didn't send it quite as wide that time, but he still needed to stand farther to the left. That might work. He's left the baby split, the 310. Got to fit the ball right between them. Put it on the right side of the 3-pin. Let the ball deflect over into the 10. But he gets too much of the 3-pin. Another way to compensate for that is with your equipment. Maybe urethane would be a good choice. I don't know about his arsenal. I don't know if he has urethane. Or a much weaker ball that'll scoot down the lane farther before it starts to turn. There's the shot Kelly was looking for. The best part of her game is that she's very consistent. She walks in a nice straight line. She has a super straight arm swing. And I say this probably not often enough, but of all the attributes you can have in the game of bowling, a straight arm swing is, I think, perhaps the best thing you can have. Because it'll make up for a lot of shortcomings. And when you're under the gun, it'll usually help your game hold up to the pressure. What Kelly doesn't have is the ability to throw it real hard, and that ball was just not quite hard enough to get it to hold line. So it hooked high, left the 4-pin, but she covers it with ease and maintains an 11-pin lead. All right, Jonathan, he's thrown 2 strikes in 2 attempts on this right lane in this match. Let's see if he's got a third one in him. Oh, he pulled that one. Oh, my goodness. I don't think that ball ever got to the right half of the lane. And he leaves the 2 pins he was hoping the ball would hit, the 1-3. Well, this one should be fairly easy to figure out the line to get there. Just throw your strike ball. Oh! He chops the 1 off the 3. And now that's back-to-back opens for Jonathan Cooper, and look out. Once again, can't keep it on the right side of the lane. He's moved his feet left, but he needs to move farther. He's playing more toward the center of the lane than we've seen most of the players so far today. But he's throwing it over about 17 or 18. He needs to move at about, I don't know, 5 more boards left and move that line at the arrows to about the 4th arrow, and he'll be pretty near the right spot. Boy, there's another rocket to the pocket by Kelly. And now it looks like she's figured out the right lane. She's got 2 strikes in a row on that side. Look at how straight she walks. Nice straight arm swing. She doesn't put a lot on the ball. She relies on accuracy. Now, can she get a double? This would be huge. Oh, once again, just a tick high. And she leaves the 4. But I'll tell you what, if you can control the pocket like this, when the lanes are difficult, if you can just stay close to the pocket, you'll leave easier spares. And as we have discovered today, spares are at a premium. They're almost as good as strikes most days. Well, Jonathan Cooper says when he grows up, he wants to be a chef. Kelly says when she grows up, she wants to be a cook. So I don't know, maybe there's a little something between them. Well, now, once again, I don't know if you caught that, but when Jonathan Cooper threw that ball, his hand never went around the side of it. It came straight up the back. Now, I talk about staying behind the ball and come up the back of the ball, roll it off your fingers, all that. That's how you get the ball to hook. That is true. But you do need a slight bit of axis rotation to get the ball to really take advantage of its attributes. With the weight block and the way these modern bowling balls are drilled, they're made to hook. And this time he does turn it, and it hooks by the spare. But on his first shot, it looked like he was trying to throw it straight by coming right up the back of the ball to control the hook. But he still sent it wide enough that it needed some axis rotation to recover and come back. It didn't, and then he used that axis rotation at the spare. He's kind of got it backwards. Throw it straight at spares. You got to hook it at strikes. Like that. Although, honestly, that ball looked like it quit at the very end. Watch it. It'll start to hook, and then at the end, it just flattens out. Because he came right up the back of the ball. It gets enough hook, and then it stops. It just happened to stop in the right place to go 10 back with that strike. There's just the right amount of hook for Kelly, I think. And now that's 3 strikes in a row on the right lane, and the good news for Kelly is she's going to finish on that right lane. Watch this. She sends it to the right just a little bit. She threw it over about 12 at the arrows. It's out to about 7 at the break point, and with her amount of hook, that's just right. She can throw it out right of that second arrow and not worry about it overhooking like it's done with a lot of the other players. She crosses over that time, leaves the 6-10. Cross lane at it. Perfect. All right, Jonathan says his favorite pro bowler is Darren Tang. He would like to have Darren Tang come down here and tell him where to stand and where to throw it here. He seems a bit confused. Look at that thing take off to the left, but he gets away with it and gets a reverse wall shot. Watch this. I think it's going to be the head pin that goes to the right wall and comes back across the pin deck to take out the 5. Watch the head pin. Yep. Boy, would he love to get another one here. Trailing by 26. That strike cuts Kelly's lead to 16. And all of a sudden, Jonathan has played himself back into this match. He looked like he was getting ready to throw his bowling balls in the trunk of their car. Now this strike can pull him to within a mark, and that would put some pressure on Kelly. Oh, how did he do that? It's not how, it's how many. Watch this. Right through the nose. And the old Jersey squasher. Well, now we've got a match. Just needs reasonable count here. That'll do. So he finishes with 183. And now Kelly with an 8-pin lead. She needs a mark of any kind. The strike would be huge here. She struck 3 times in a row on this right lane. But this time she lets up on her speed a little bit. The ball goes through the nose, and she leaves the 3-6. And she's got to make it. She needs to make this and get 5 on her fill ball to win. But first, she's got to make this spare. If she doesn't, Jonathan wins. Oh, no. Oh, she bowled so well. But that failed spare attempt in the 10th frame is going to do her in. And it's Jonathan Cooper who takes match 3. And now he's in the championship match. He'll face our tournament leader, Aiden York, for the title next.
Now, from the Prodigy Bowlers Tour newsroom, with reports from across the universe, around the world, throughout the nation, and up your alley, this is Prodigy Striking News.
So it's the morning of Saturday, April 12th, and I'm at Olathe Lanes East doing my customary job as one of the coaches for our Saturday morning youth leagues when I get a phone call on my iPhone. It's the father of one Hunter Moffett. You know Hunter. He's the winningest player in Prodigy Bowlers Tour history. The player for whom the Prodigy TOC Handicap Division Championship Trophy is named, and the most recent player to bowl a 300 on Prodigy Bowlers Tour at our recent Prodigy Home for the Holidays special event seen on episode 181. Hunter Moffett, with a chance to write his name in the Prodigy Bowlers Tour history books. We've had a total of 3 natural 300s bowled on Prodigy. One by Logan Mathis in Georgia, one by Rhett Ryman in Kansas City, one by Nolan Nash in Kansas City. Will Hunter be the 4th? Yes! Well, his dad was calling me to share some good news. Hunter just won the Georgia State Pepsi tournament. Again. This now makes 3 times Hunter has won the Pepsi. The first time as a U12 player, the second time as a U15, and now this time he's added a Pepsi title as a U18 player. And he defeated his arch rival in the championship match to do it, winning decisively 245 to 177, leaving no doubt. You could almost see this coming as Hunter shot .805 in practice the day before the tournament. In other Pepsi news, another Prodigy favorite son, Melvin Perry III, or MP3 as he's known, finished 3rd in the U15 division at Pepsi in Georgia. Melvin, as you may recall, was the tournament leader going into the stepladder finals at the Prodigy Home for the Holidays event in December, lapping the field in qualifying. But no, it was not to be. The 7 goes out, but the 10 remains, and he shoots .299. Congratulations to 2 of my favorite youngsters from our days in Georgia, Melvin Perry III, who adds a 3rd at Pepsi to his list of accomplishments, and Hunter Moffitt, who adds a 3rd title at Pepsi to his list of accomplishments. You guys are phenomenal, and all of Prodigy Land sends our heartfelt congratulations. We now send you back to the lanes at the 2025 Kansas City Open April Point Tournament for the Division IV championship match. Here's a recap of the qualifying round. Division IV was the smallest of the 5 divisions this month at the KCO, with just 12 contestants. Of course, you know who made the top 5. It took an average of 167, including handicap, to crack the top 5. Hunter Bradley qualified 6th as the alternate, just missing the 5th position by 6 pins. There you see Johnny Futrell in 8th. You saw him in the adult youth doubles tournament. He and his dad won that tournament back in December. In another match that came down to the final shots thrown, once again it was a missed spare that made the difference. I wish I had $1 for every time that's happened on Prodigy. But I know Kelly Petrick's dad is proud of her, as am I. She bowled well enough to win right up until the very last ball. But you gotta hand it to Jonathan Cooper. He seemed hopelessly lost and then rallied to put together a furious comeback at the end of the match to put just enough pressure on his opponent to get her to make the one critical mistake. So it's Jonathan Cooper who has notched another victory and now finds himself bowling for the title against Aiden York. 1 year ago at this same event here at Crown Lanes, Aiden York made his first appearance on Prodigy. He was Division V at the time and finished 5th that day in what had to be a disappointing performance, registering just 3 marks in his 1 match. But today he enters the stepladder as the tournament leader, and it wasn't close. Aiden had a 150-pin cushion between himself and the 2 seed in qualifying. So you'd have to think he is far more confident than he might have been that day 1 year ago. So let's get this party started. It's Aiden York versus Jonathan Cooper for all the cheese in Division IV. Aiden, the youngest player in our 5-player field today in the stepladder. He's just 13 years old. And we've seen this a time or two today, with players having a hard time keeping the ball on the right side of the head pin, but Aiden gets at Brooklyn, and he will take that strike and make no apologies for it. And I don't blame him. Look at that, he's playing the 5th arrow. I don't know, that might have been a pole. He may not have meant to play the 5th arrow. It might have been aiming for the 4th, but in any event, he's got a strike to start. Now Jonathan. And he's gone back to this tactic of going ahead and standing where he's comfortable, throwing it hard and throwing it farther to the right and just coming up the back of the ball, trying not to turn it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't love that strategy. I would go with the natural shot he's used to throwing with his normal axis rotation, but he's got to move left. Sometimes these kids just get comfortable playing one part of the lane and they don't want to move. You got to learn how to play every part of the lane in bowling, if you want to get good at it anyway. All right, there's a spare. So we're through the first frame and everybody's clean so far. That's progress. All right, once again, the players to our left, that's Division 3. The players to our right, that's Division 5. We will summarize how their stepladders played out when we get to the end of the show after we interview our winner. That was a pretty good shot there. Jonathan's still employing that relatively straight up the back release. It doesn't overhook on him. That's the advantage to it. See where his fingers are? Now watch where they are after they come through the ball. Still right in the middle of the ball. He's not turning it at all. Now I think you do need to give it a little more axis rotation than that, but then he'll have to move farther left. See how the ball kind of flattened out at the end? It never really finished, but he had enough revs and enough entry angle to get him to scatter. That works. Aiden crossing over. At 13, I guess he's still got some growing to do, because I'm not sure his arms are quite long enough to really get all the way around the ball like you need it to. This is just Aiden's second appearance at the KCO this season. Way back in September, he finished 7th. He was in Division 5 at the time. Oh, he hooks by the 9-pin. Well, that's not what you want. So an open frame, and he surrenders the lead to Jonathan. Now we're waiting on a ball return, so while we wait, I'll tell you what's coming up on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Episode 189 will be out in about a week. That will be the Division 1 stepladder from this very same Kansas City Open April Point Tournament. Then in May, we're in St. Joseph, Missouri at Revolutions Lanes and Fun Center. We'll cover Division 3 and Division 1 there. And then in June, it's the KCO Invitational, the season-ending KCO event at Olathe Lanes East. You'll see it on episodes 192 and 193. And then our super episode 194 with the doubleheader of the year, the Prodigy Tournament of Champions. We're filming on June 22nd. If you win a KCO this season, you are eligible to enter the Prodigy TOC to try to win the coveted trophy pin. Good shot by Aiden, but no reward. When you play that deep on the lane, sometimes it's hard to carry the corner pins. But he was right in the right spot there. The swishing 7, the 5 goes over, tries to get the 7, but doesn't quite make contact. All right, simple spare. Let's see you make it. All right. Good thing he had a big ball to use. Wouldn't want to use a smaller one. All right, Jonathan. Up on the right lane, working on a strike. Well, he's just got to be frustrated. He gave it the big loft, but he gave it his normal amount of turn, and the ball just started hooking about 25 feet down the lane. And that's because he got it too far to the right, out there where there's the least amount of friction. You gotta move left. I think he could probably move almost 10 boards left with his feet. But I tell you what, it would be hard to do any better shooting at the 3-9 with the challenges this pair of lanes is presenting. He goes with his plastic ball. I assume that's a plastic ball. It didn't hook an inch. And covers a difficult spare with that sleeper 9 in back. All right. It's an 8-pin lead for Jonathan Cooper. Boy, that was smooth. He turned that one just the right amount. I don't think that was his full Magilla, but he also got around it just a little bit. Only sent it out to about 9, so it didn't hit the driest part of the lane. But again, move a little left. And Aiden is having the same problem, sending it out a little too far to the right. And now he's got himself a problem, the 5-10 split. Here's how to make it. Put the ball on the left side of the 5-pin, slide it over into the 10. Oh, he's got a straight ball in his bag of tricks. And he nearly makes that sucker. Good attempt. But unfortunately, that's another open, and he's looking for his first mark on the right lane. And he's going to be finishing on the right lane, so he's going to have to measure that lane correctly before it's all over. All right, back up on the left. I love that little routine with his practice swing. And you see, it looked like he was trying to throw that thing farther to the right. But you don't combat hooking lanes by trying to throw the ball directly at the driest part of the lane. All right, look here. See that gap between the ball and his ankle? That's part of the problem for Aiden. He needs to get his elbow in close to his body. That'll bring the ball in close to his left ankle. He'll regain some accuracy and leverage. Through the nose. Jonathan working on a strike, though, so he doesn't lose any pins in count. But this spare is no gimme. I would move farther to the left if I were you, Jonathan. And that's one reason why. Although the real reason I would move farther left shooting the 3-6-10 is to try to avoid the chop. But moving farther left, you're going to be playing more in the oil, which will allow that ball to get down lane a little farther before it starts trying to hook. He just pulled it left of target. A big whiff, and now the lead is down to just 5 pins. And now, once again, you saw that ball. It had some side turn on it. He put some axis rotation on it. But it gets out to the dry, and it starts to hook. I mean, it didn't go straight into the gutter like it looked like it was headed. But because it hits the dry so soon on the lane, it just rolls out. Like if you bounce a basketball on dry pavement and put some spin on it, it's going to turn in the direction it's spinning on the first bounce, but then it just goes straight the rest of the way. You need that ball rolling in the oil, storing energy down lane, and hitting the dry part of the lane farther down the lane. These guys are all just getting the ball into the dry much, much too soon. And that's what makes it so difficult. See, same thing. And now Aiden will face the challenge of trying to keep the ball on the right side of the lane to make the 3-9. He wisely goes to his spare ball, which ordinarily I would suggest a hooking ball at the 3-9, but he even hooks his spare ball past it. But again, if he'd been farther left with his feet, throwing it down the part of the lane where there's some oil, it would have scooted farther down lane before it hooked. All right, let's watch his game. At the bottom of the swing, the ball is in perfect position, right under his head. That's where we like to see it. Then at the top of the swing, you see that his arm is still pretty close to his body. That's good. But then watch what happens. Now we've got this big gap between his ankle and the ball. We'd like to see the ball in the red line where the circle is and his arm extending down from his shoulder where that line is. That would get the ball in the proper position. That would give him improved accuracy and much more leverage. And he'd be a much happier camper. But that'll give him something to work on when he gets back to Grain Valley. See how the ball just rolls out at the end? It started to hook, but it's just finding the dry too soon on the lane. If you move farther left with your feet, you also need to move your eyes at the arrows farther left so that the ball stays in the oily part of the lane longer. You hear them talk all the time about how the pros play the lanes from front to back, whereas the amateurs tend to play the lanes from right to left. You got to see how far down the lane the ball is when it starts hooking. If it's hooking early, move left and move your line left to keep the ball in the oil longer down the lane. All right, Jonathan with a 17-pin lead. We've seen this before. He's trying to compensate for that over-under by just throwing it harder and not turning the ball, and he's finding it difficult to control. You just can't play the lanes in the driest part of the lane. I mean, nobody in the world is good enough to overpower the lanes that way. Not even the best players in the world can do that. Well, an open frame. And all of a sudden, we've got a 3-pin match heading into the 8th frame. Who's going to step up at the end? That's a better line, but it still hooked a little too much, and he got away with it. Boy, that left lane is really hooking. You just got to keep moving. It looked like he moved enough, but not really. Another Jersey squasher. That's becoming my favorite strike today. All right, Aiden. Down to your final 3 frames. What you gonna do? Well, he gets that same ball reaction that Jonathan has. Now, he didn't try to throw it straight. He just threw it farther to the right, and you know, you're gonna get it to come back some, but it's gonna run out of steam, and it's gonna use up its energy before it gets to the pins. And it rolls out. The 2-4-5, not to be. So Jonathan back to an 18-pin advantage as we head to the 9th frame. Take another look at that last shot by Aiden. Look where this ball is. At about 27 feet, it's already right of the outside tracers. The outside tracers are the 10th board. He was on about the 7th or 8th board at 27 feet. What do you think the ball's going to do there? It's going to hook left, and it's got a lot of lane left to cover. This is going to be better. See, now he's kind of in that in-between zone. That shot was pretty good. But now he just needs to move maybe a board to the right and move his target back to the right about a board. Boy, it's really delicate. But now he's got to make this spare. He can't afford another open at this stage of the match. Hook, baby. Hook, hook. Nope. Well, that is a tough one. I know Aiden wanted this one. Felt like he paid his dues at this tournament a year ago, but he's kind of run into a buzzsaw today. Jonathan, on a mission from God, it appears. As they said in the Blues Brothers movie. Simple spare, the 5-pin. He goes with his spare ball. I would think that he would make this. There you go. So Jonathan Cooper heads to the 10th frame with a 29-pin advantage. And he just needs a few pins here on the first ball, and he can claim the Division IV championship at the 2025 Kansas City Open April Point Tournament. Just put this thing somewhere in the middle of the lane and take a victory lap. That's fine. He doesn't need to make it. He has already won. Well, you have seen the 4-6 made before on Prodigy by Antonio Miranda once. Why not show us a trick shot here, Jonathan? That would be entertaining. But I think he's going to go for the 4-pin. So don't expect any miracles here. No, he gets the field goal. But I'm sorry, Jonathan, we will not be awarding 3 points for that shot. We will, however, let you sign the coveted trophy pin as the winner today. He bowled just well enough today on pretty demanding condition. Aiden. There you go. That's the line. See, that one didn't get nearly as wide as the other shots he'd been throwing. Oh, my goodness. Where was that earlier today? Watch this line he picks out. This time, that thing is over the 4th arrow, never gets out past about 10. That's the ticket. That was the ticket the whole afternoon. If only he had tried that sooner. That's a little wider, and it's going to hook back. Well, hopefully he can watch this when he gets home. And both of these players hopefully will learn something from this experience and watching it on video. But guess what? Aiden, second place is not nothing. And Jonathan Cooper, first place, is better than not nothing. It's everything. You have just won the KCO Division IV title here at Crown Lanes. We'll visit with him next. Well, Aiden York definitely made some improvements over his first appearance on Prodigy a year ago. And a second-place finish is definitely better than the fifth-place finish that he achieved last year. But I think when he watches this bowlcast, he'll see a couple of things he could work on that would help him to reach even greater heights next time. I sure hope so. But today, it was Jonathan Cooper who made the shots he needed to make to close the deal and claim victory as the Division IV champion at the April KCO Point Tournament. And that means it's his turn to sign the coveted trophy pin. Let's get you down laneside to meet this young man. Looky, 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 we have another first-time winner on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. It's Jonathan Cooper, ladies and gentlemen. How did you win so many games in the stepladder today?
I would say skill, but I was nervous. So
let us hear you. Speak up.
By trying my best and not trying to let the opens get to me.
So you made your spares? Most of them?
Some of them.
Some of them? A few of them? Well, you made enough. That's what we know. And here's what I observed when I was watching you, and I watched most of the stepladder today. My attention was somewhat divided because I wanted to go down and watch Division I at times, but you throw a lot of ball. And as I said to somebody, if you ever learn to control it and know where it's going, you're gonna be a handful because you've got the magic release. So, are you going to be in St. Joe next month?
That's the plan, yeah.
Okay. I would think you'd be a threat there, too, in Division IV. If you're still in Division IV, you may get rewarded for this by getting rated up. But congratulations, a big day. How does it feel to be a winner?
Really good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, guess what? This also punches your ticket into the season-ending Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions, which you are now eligible for by virtue of putting your name on the coveted trophy pin. Sign your name, put today's date.
Doesn't matter.
Anywhere. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, our latest champion on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Today's date is April something or other. I'm gonna say 5th. Might be the 6th. I really don't know. It's all a blur to me. But either way, they can't take this win away from you. Jonathan Cooper, our latest champion. Congratulations, buddy. As I mentioned during the show, the players bowling in the periphery to our right on lanes 23 and 24 were the Division V group. Here's how their stepladder played out. In Match 1, the 5-seed Willow Burns defeated the 4-seed Kanan Duncan, who you saw claim the first Division V championship of the season back in September in his first ever bowling tournament. But today, in his first stepladder since that day, it was Willow Burns who got the best of him, 126 to 113. Then in Match 2, the 3-seed, Briley Walschlager Monty, put an end to Willow Burns' day, 156 to 142. That sent Briley into the third match, where she faced the 2-seed, Michael Morgan. You saw Michael in last month's Division V show from the KCO March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament. He was bowling with his mom that day, but today, Michael was on his own, and he defeated Briley Walschlager Monty in a close one, 142 to 135. That set up the championship match, where Michael Morgan faced the tournament leader, Maddox Page. And it was Michael Morgan who came away the champion, winning that final match 178 to 121. So congratulations to Michael Morgan, the Division V champion today. Then, as I mentioned earlier, the group bowling in the periphery to our left was the Division III group. Here's how their stepladder played out. In the opening match, the 4-seed Logan Crosswhite defeated the 5-seed Megan Glinka, Logan Glinka's sister, 242 to 222. Then in match 2, Logan Crosswhite continued his winning way, upsetting the 3 seed Adam Wilson, who is coming off a win with his father at last month's adult youth doubles tournament in Belton. It was Logan Crosswhite 209 over Adam Wilson's 191. Then in the 3rd match, Logan Crosswhite rode his momentum and an avalanche of strikes to defeat the 2 seed Ryan Johnson 258 to 202. And that set up a remarkable championship match with Logan Crosswhite attempting to run the stepladder. But to do it, he would have to get past the tournament leader, Josiah Starr. The two of them tied at 233, sending this one into a 9th and 10th frame roll-off, where both players were perfect in overtime, throwing 4 strikes each. But Logan was getting 1 more pin of handicap than Josiah, so there was nothing Josiah could do but shake Logan's hand and congratulate him. So, congratulations to Logan Crosswhite on an unforgettable afternoon of bowling that netted him the championship in Division III at the 2025 KCO April Point Tournament. On our next edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, we'll bring you the Division I Championship Finals from this very same KCO April Point Tournament at Crown Lanes. Will someone break the streak by becoming the first 2-time champion in Division I this season and thereby seize the inside track on becoming Player of the Year? Or will another player claim their first title of the season, leaving the Player of the Year race wide open coming down to the final 2 KCO events? Find out when episode 189 drops on April 26th. If you're interested in entering the KCO and possibly being on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, visit the KCO's website at www.kansascityopen.com. There you'll find everything you need to know about how to enter and much, much more. There are only 2 more KCOs left on this season's calendar: the May Point Tournament in St. Joseph and the KCO Invitational in June. Then we close out the season with the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions, where every KCO champion from this season is invited to compete for scholarship prizes and the grand prize, the coveted trophy pin. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. Smash the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to be notified whenever we post new content to the channel. You know, 3/4 of you watch these videos but never bother to subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you a penny, and yet it would really help us grow the channel. So please hit that subscribe button. And remember to leave a comment down below. It's hard to make much money on these YouTube channels if our viewers don't engage with us by liking the videos, subscribing to the channel, and leaving comments. So please help us out. Oh, and be sure to share the video with your bowling friends to help them discover Prodigy Bowlers Tour. If you'd like to kick in and financially support the creative work that goes into producing Prodigy Bowlers Tour each month, become a Prodigy patron. Go to www.patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour. For as little as $5 a month, you'll get early access to all our full-length episodes of Prodigy. And for just $10 a month, you'll get that early access, and you'll get your name in the show's closing credits as an executive producer. It's a nice way to show you support what we do here, and I would be forever grateful. To keep up with all things Prodigy, join our Facebook group, where you'll get behind-the-scenes info on what's coming on Prodigy. It's free, and you can interact with me and other Prodigy heads all across the fruited plain. From any page on Facebook, type Prodigy Bowlers Tour into the search bar and hit enter. That'll take you to the page where you can submit a request to join the group. Answer the 3 screening questions and your request will be approved. Ignore the 3 screening questions and your request to join might be declined, so pay attention. All right, that's it for this edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Be on the lookout for episode 189, the Division I Finals from the April KCO in Leavenworth. Until then, this is Coach Randy reminding you to stay behind the foul line, keep kicking out the corner pins, not the foul lights and ball returns. And I'll talk to you again next time on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Now, go get your bowl on.